Well, hello and welcome to the Indo World Cup Daily. Well, alarming news from the Ireland camp in Brisbane. Denise O'Sullivan has gone to hospital with a shin injury after a challenge by a Colombian player in that behind closed doors friendly against Colombia in Brisbane. The game was abandoned after 20 minutes. Dave Kelly is obviously there for us in Brisbane. Dave, tell us what do you know?
Well, I brought you sunshine from Brisbane yesterday, but now it's only darkened gloom. The main headline is, as you say, Denise O'Sullivan has been taken to St Andrew's Hospital, which is a short ride away from Meakin Park, their team base, about 20 minutes here from the city centre. I've just been around to the city centre hotel where the coach has arrived. They completed the game that was abandoned after 20 minutes after that tackle. Effectively, a second yellow card was dished out with the referee of that tackle. Denise is in hospital with a shin injury. She did walk off the field. She was attended to by Siobhan Foreman on the field. Angela Keneally, the physio, then accompanied her to the hospital. And from what I know, she did walk off, but she's wearing shin guards. So to have a shin injury in that situation, you can imagine it was a bit of a butcher's job. So whether there's swelling, whether it's stitches, we're not too sure. We haven't been given any information. I'm not sure if it was an actually open wound or a stitches issue. So I'm assuming it's a bruising issue, or whether there's something kind of more serious than that. And I'm kind of assuming, again, because we're nearly midnight here, that there won't be any substantive results until the morning. We're due to speak to Vera Pauw in the morning at some stage. I mean, as journalists are wont to do and have done since the beginning of time, and the invention of ink, we were door stopping the hotel to just try and get some confirmation from the manager of just the state of the mood and a snap reaction to what was obviously a fraught situation, because much earlier than we expected, and there were earlier clues. There was a tweet from a lone Colombian fan based in Brisbane who seemed to have an inkling of what was happening, and there were photographs on the official website of the supplier to the FAI, which were hastily removed during the game, because we're keeping an eye on that as we're kind of trying to watch a game that we originally had been allowed into, but the Colombians stopped us. I wonder why. So there were a bit of a sniffs, and then the FAI statement came out very strongly, as you may have all read by now. I won't read it out. It will accompany this video. So they're obviously very, very unhappy about it, and that will be, I'm sure, expressed in the morning. But I think the real concern at this stage is for the person in all of this, and Denise O'Sullivan, who ironically yesterday spoke to us about how she is often targeted, like her good mucker, Katie McCabe, who they've soldiered together for over a decade. And they are, both of them, they're usually targeted in a game, and Denise is a real trench warfare. She's a gifted genius on the ball, but she is, as her stats in the campaign show, she is, in terms of counter pressing and ball retrieval, she is right at the top of the chart. So she's a real tiger, and I'm kind of guessing that's how she kind of would have come to her brief end this evening in that game against the Colombians, who would have met with a similar force. So that's basically the latest news. That's kind of all we know at the moment, and I'm sure our supporters' thoughts and prayers and everything are with Denise O'Sullivan, because in terms of the opening game, apart from Katie McCabe, she is utterly indispensable to this Irish team. So that's basically what we're hoping to see overnight, that everything is okay for her.
Yeah. So as you mentioned there, the media weren't allowed into this game. You had indications that you might. So you didn't actually get to talk, as normal procedure would be after a game. You didn't get to talk to Vera Pauw about this. So you're kind of left in the dark a bit. We got that FAI statement. It came out just before 1:00 Irish time here, saying the game was abandoned after 20 minutes because it became overly physical, were the words used there. Now, they didn't confirm in that statement about the Denise O'Sullivan injury.
No, and I mean, there had been a number of rough tackles. I mean, there were that tackle on O'Sullivan was the second yellow given by the referee, Caden Williams, who's from the local Queensland football region. But in terms of the actual game, yeah, it was a quote unquote friendly game behind closed doors. Teams normally do this, whether it's in ahead of a World Cup or just in training camps. There was one in February in Spain. Ireland had behind closed doors as well, so it's not an unusual occurrence. We had just asked, just given that we've spent a lot of money to be out here reporting for various outlets, just to attend, not necessarily to reveal anything in terms of Irish tactics, although as we know, when we've spoken about, there's nothing new to reveal about Irish tactics or even personnel. We know what the starting team is next Thursday, effectively, bar one position. But the Colombians were objecting originally because they were worried about what we might reveal. But like, the point about this is that in a World Cup, by tomorrow morning, our time here, the game that they would have played, had they played it, would be uploaded on a kind of internal FIFA portal anyway. So everybody would see what was going to happen. And we had no interest in reporting in Colombia's subtle shift to a 4-3-3 or something like that. So we just wanted to go there for a little bit of colour and, yeah, make sure there were no injuries and just have a general look. And there were a couple of hundred kids around as well outside beforehand and stuff and watching a bit of it. So it was just about a sense of us doing a bit of colour. So it wasn't, but the fact that the Colombians at the last minute, like, we turned up with all our bib and tucker to the game, really quite early, actually, a couple of hours before kickoff. We were going to do a bit of work there beforehand, but it was clear that the Colombians were not playing ball. We had come to a tacit agreement with somebody in the Colombian FA this morning, but obviously somebody higher up in the Colombian FA said no, no mas, and a FIFA official wasn't very helpful either. And we were trying to state that case in terms of, listen, this game is going to be all over the place tomorrow. So, like, what's the point? We're only here for the Irish team. But no, they weren't playing any ball. RT were there just to get some coverage of the Irish team arriving outside, but they were also denied access. And we were never going to get access anyway to Vera or anybody after the game. But now we are trying to get access for a wholly different reason.
Yeah, of course. And I wonder, that FIFA video hub, if that injury to Denise will be uploaded on that. I mean, last week in Tala, we had Katie McCabe, like another one of Ireland's really important players, come off, roll her ankle. Thankfully, the sigh of relief, you only spoke about it yesterday, she got back to full training. I mean, this is going to hang over the squad now until we find out for definite, what the prognosis on that injury to Denise is. As you say, you only spoke to her yesterday. Lovely piece by you in the paper this morning on the website, talking about her late dad and everything. I mean, this is the stage that she's been waiting for. And the thought of her even missing even a minute of this World Cup with that game against Australia in just 6 days' time is just unthinkable.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as I said earlier, like, it's a personally devastating blow, as it is for, all the players who didn't make the squad and who missed out because of injury, whether, like Megan Campbell and Aoife Mannion. But I mean, Denise, she's played in major tournaments before at underage. She's a global star. She's been a star here in Canberra and Western Sydney for a very brief period. She's like, when I was in the States in April, she is a huge star over there from her time in Houston and now North Carolina. She's captain of North Carolina. I mean, she's she's bigger over there than Katie McCabe is in England. Like, she is a truly icon of the sport, and as admired throughout the world as Katie McCabe is, and here is no different. And just in terms of just that, on and off the ball, just that tenacity off the ball, and her distribution skills and her ability to link up with Katie, but also drift across. And she's not a holding midfielder really, but like, she kind of is. She does kind of screen a lot, but like, she can play a pass like nobody else really in that team. Even with the arrival of Sinead Farrelly, who, is yet to kind of build upon her first cap. So yeah, it would be a devastating loss. And just, I suppose, just the manner of what happened this evening, it's a pretty brutish kind of introduction to kind of the reality of the next 6 days, that, like, you're sweating on one of your star players making it. And it just will, if the worst comes to the worst, it just infuses the whole project now with a bit of doubt, and would obviously make Ireland's task tougher, but would probably harden the conservative nature of the tactics, I would imagine, against an Australian team who I saw tonight were pretty darn good.
Yeah. Okay. And just getting onto that Australia game, this was a game people were allowed in to see. And in fact, over 50,000 were inside there for Australia's 1-0 win over France. Mary Fowler with that goal, of course, with her Irish roots and her dad from Dublin. And of course, France, when you think about when France beat Ireland, of course, 3-0 last week. Dave, you watched that game since you couldn't go in to see Ireland play Colombia. What stood out for you about the Australia performance?
Yeah, it's her grandfather, actually, Kevin. Yeah, there was that lovely picture of them in Tala. Yeah, when she played that game in 21. And like the FEI kind of courted her as well back in the day, but like she's accumulated a lot of caps now. I mean, she's the youngest Australian at the last World Cup. Like she just, wanted to play for her country, which is, natural. She came on in the second half. She was quite bright, actually. But like Australia, it was a really good game. And as I kind of predicted yesterday, the kind of vague, the overall theme very basically was France possession based and Australia countering, but it was very open. And the roof was closed. It was very windy in Melbourne. And quite cold, 12 degrees. So the roof was closed, so that kind of helped in 50,000. Great atmosphere. I mean, again, I suppose the striking thing, having not seen them, I didn't see the England game because I was away on Ireland duty when they beat England 2-1 with a different team, ironically, slightly weaker team. But like the Sam Kerr, Caitlin Ford partnership, which I mentioned yesterday, that's really good. Kerr goes beyond, as we know, but Ford is kind of just off, comes in off the left, drives from midfield. She's really hot, really hot. At one stage, Kerr came kind of deep and allowed and linked up with Ford, but they were linking up just like that from the early moments. They played an hour together, and then they have Rasso and Vine on the wings, extraordinary speed. They're really cohesive in terms of countering left, right, through the middle. If they kind of snaffle a bit of ball in their defensive third, they can really turn it on. Centrally, defensively, they were quite good. I mean, they're only, if you're looking at a weakness to attack from, you would say that their two kind of central midfielders get a bit narrow, so you can kind of press them. And France did press in numbers, but we never pressed in those high numbers high up. So I don't know how kind of relevant that was and that the whole game would be. I mean, the only relevance is that Australia were scarily good. Now they didn't finish their dinner, as they say. I mean, they had a lot of poor final balls. They had they created a lot of chance situations, but didn't create a lot of chances from them. But that's the only kind of minor blip on it in terms of like what to give Ireland a bit of succor from this. And yeah, Mary Fowler, she could push for a starting place now. She was really bright and vivid before she came on, and like she finished a cracking move, initiated down the right from Carpenter, right full back, and bang 1-2 pass, cut back cross on the floor, and Fowler put it away. So yeah, I mean, yeah, they look good. They look good, and they had their injury heartbreak too. Tamika Yallop, a midfielder, has had a pretty awful time with I think it was a thigh injury. Not too sure, but she's had a really bad run. She was back, came on as a sub and on the hour when they made a lot of those switches, but then kind of hyperextended her knee. I think it was. She had an ankle before, but she kind of hyperextended her knee, it seemed, in a tackle on the sideline. Tried to play on, but went off. Pretty much in distress. Now, Sam Kerr is strapping in a hamstring, but she was kind of joking to the cameras, no, it's okay. So she's all right. And Alana Kennedy, the very experienced defender, went off as well, but she was okay. But towards the end, the French girl, which I suppose is not as relevant for us, Batcha, the winger, the lovely winger, yeah, she did well against us, Ireland, last week. I think it was 95 minutes, 96 minutes, literally in injury time, and she got a real bad dunt. And Ellen Carpenter, who's her Leon teammate, was actually crying as she was brought off. And like I was doing a kind of a snap analysis colour of what I've just been talking about, a bit more extensive, which will be published online soon, or if it already hasn't been done so. And I was just referring unwittingly to the fact that these are fraught times for teams in the build-up to the World Cup, little realising that at that stage, Denise O'Sullivan is already lying in a hospital bed.
I know. You kind of think like once they get on that plane, like you think of Tala last week, final kind of warm-up game. But like once you get on that plane, surely everything will be okay. But, these things do happen. So just to wrap, Dave, it'll be tomorrow. So Vera Pauw I don't think she was meant to do this press conference tomorrow morning, was she? But now she will. No. Yeah. So we'll hopefully get that update, and hopefully it will be positive news on Denise.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, I've a vague memory. Age sometimes defies me, but like 21 years ago, Jason McAteer got a bad doing in a game. I think he pulled something possibly, or maybe it was a tackle late first half. Snapshots going through my head, but that was in that club game when we arrived in Japan after the other place, and he didn't make it through the World Cup. Although, as we discovered afterwards, when other players were being accused of feigning injury, he was feigning fitness a little bit, but he did make it through that World Cup. And, I was in Bayonne and another coach.
I was thinking of the Brian O'Driscoll, the haymaker to Brian O'Driscoll's chin or jaw. Yeah, and Bayonne.
Mike Tuiwata, whose name we'll never miss, and we'll try and get this Colombian name as well to possibly become a kind of, I don't know, a hate figure, but that's not a good way to go either. But like, because I'm sure they're just trying to do their best for their own country and whatever, and these things kind of happen. But yeah, listen, we hope this is in the classic senses of the tradition, a World Cup scare, and all will be okay in 24 hours or so. And if I'm talking to you tomorrow or the next day, I will attempt to bring some, if not more light, at least some more sunshine.
Oh, nicely put, Dave. In Brisbane, thank you for that.